Good evening, everyone. I'm Brian Chatfield, and I'll be chairing this meeting tonight. We will start off with the Pledge of Allegiance led by Gary Woodward.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if I can ask everyone to continue standing. One of our board members has lost a dear family member of theirs, Miss Doris' brother, by the name of John Holliday, and we would like to just give a couple of seconds of silence. Thank you.
Thank you.
Fellow board members, have everyone had opportunity to review our agenda for today? And if so, do I have a motion to adopt today's agenda?
So moved.
I second.
It's been properly moved in second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? Motion passed. Thank you. Next, we have a fire report from Chief Reed.
Good evening, John Chatfield, board members. Just a couple of things to update you on here this evening. First, as you know, we talked about that in the December meeting. We did the Gloves of Love process, and I wanted to take just a moment and express some thank yous to people. Obviously, the Grady family who head this up every single year for us. That's Chris, Mike, and Lydia Day. The engine company, 82 and 83, were there each one of those days. The township employees, Trustee Barden, Communications Director Jeff Harris, Punty, and board member Ramon Ward was there. Fire administration personnel that also participated in that was Sonny Morrison, who does our public education component, Jill Smith, Courtney Rice, Eric Bannister, Tina Benson, and Andrea Groff. I want to say thank you to all of them. And that went off without a hitch. It was cool. The next thing is we received a grant from the state of the Homeland Security for what's called a Pendar X10 spectrometer. For lack of a better way, it's a meter. It needs gases, and we got it for our hazmat team. So it's now in service in our hazmat group. At the same time, improved safety prevents exposure to dangerous substances while reducing the risk of igniting explosive chemicals, and only requires that the hazmat technician point and shoot directly at unknown chemicals. It'll go even inside drums and containers and windows and such. So it's a really valuable piece of equipment for our folks. And then finally, we wanted to let you know that sometime next month, the child that was surrendered to the Station 82 baby box has been adopted, and the family is planning on bringing the child to meet with the crew members of Station 82 who are on duty that day. So we will let you know when that actually occurs, and make sure that you have an opportunity to come if you have a chance. With that, that rounds up my report.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief.
Thank you, Chief.
Reed. Next, we have our trustee report from Trustee Gordon.
Mr. Chairman, in the interest of time and the crowd, I just say can we move on to the
Sure.
business.
Cool. Will financials be presented today, or
We would prefer to wait until February. They're working on end of the year. We have our report. I'll have all of that done for us in February. We'll also be ready for audit at that point.
Yeah.
Next, have our board members had an opportunity to review minutes from last meeting? If so, do I have a motion to accept last meeting's minutes.
I make a motion, we accept the minutes of the last meeting.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? The minutes for December 14th has been passed. Thank you. Old business. We do have a guest here tonight. We would like to just give him a few minutes. We have the former mayor of Beech Grove, Mayor Buckley. Sorry. Would you mind just giving us a few words? If you will?
Well, good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
And I didn't realize it, but one of your board members has relation that lives in our beautiful city, so I thought that was pretty interesting. This is the first time I've ever been in this building, and hopefully it's not the last. But anyway, the media started reporting on these topics about maybe 3-4 weeks ago, and I got interested in it. I served on our fire department for 30 years in Beech Grove. I was the chief the last 12 years. Then I retired, and I decided that I really didn't like the way our government was running, so I decided to run for mayor. And I got elected in 2011. So everything I complained about became my problem. But anyway, I don't know if you know anything about Beech Grove, but Beech Grove is completely surrounded by the city of Indianapolis. We can't grow. And we constantly are fighting with our school district. We're not fighting, they're wonderful people. But our taxes are outrageous. So 9 of the 11 budgets that I overseen as mayor, our taxes went down, but they're still way too high. But more important, and I think by looking at watching you folks and the reporting that's been done by the media, the city of Beech Grove, within the next 5 to 10 years, is really going to have to sit down and think about what do you really want to do. Because you can't do all these things. We can't do all these things that we did 10 years ago. We don't have the money. So the last term that I served, I made a decision that my priority was going to be our police department. The top 3 issues in the city of Beech Grove are the same issues that you have here in Wayne Township. Crime, crime, and crime. We have to do a better job of law enforcement. So my focus became our public safety and law enforcement, which brought us to, and I won't talk about it tonight, I'll come back and talk to you folks in February, because of the merger of our fire department and what it has done. I went through this 3 years ago. And the only thing I'll tell you tonight is, if I had to do it over again, if I was mayor, I would do it. Now, having said that, we also run an ambulance service in the city of Beech Grove. And we had the same service since 1973. We work with Indianapolis EMS every single day of the year. They are in the city of Beech Grove every day. We are outside of the city of Beech Grove every day. We are overran with runs. We can't keep up. And I support IEMS. I like the people that run IEMS. And we got to the point where we actually, up until about a year ago, wanted to put IEMS in we have 2 stations. One is an EMS station. And we wanted to put IEMS in our station because of the demand for this service. And you probably have the same demands here. And you get overran and you can't keep up. All of our supplies are through IEMS, and a lot of our training goes through IEMS as well. So I'm here tonight to tell you that when you start talking about these items, go slow and listen to what people have to say. We held at least 3 public hearings on these topics, same topics that you are going to hear over the next couple of months. And then you'll make the right decision. I know what decision was made in Betrothed. I supported that decision and I signed off on it. And I have a wonderful relationship with the city of Indianapolis. I'm retired now, so really I'm an exhausted rooster, so my opinion doesn't count anymore. But what I'm telling you is just go slow and listen to what your constituents have to say, and then you'll make the right decision. And I support Trustee, and I support you folks, and I think at the end of the day, this will be fine. And I'll come back in February when you meet, so I can talk to you about the merger of the fire department. So God bless you. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Mayor Buckley.
Thank you, Mayor.
And Mr. President, I would just like to add, before you leave, Mayor Buckley, I just want to thank you for coming to speak to us. It's always good to hear from someone who's been through this, because we have some serious decisions ahead of us, and thank you for enlightening us on your experience this far. So we appreciate you for coming tonight.
You're welcome. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Next, we'll be going right into the presentations of Resolution 2024-1-1, merger of the EMS Division of Wayne Township Fire Department with the Indianapolis Medical Services. This will be followed by Resolution 2024-2, payment of balances.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I always like to look back. I'm a history buff. I like to look back and see where we've come from. I think that gives us an indication of maybe where we're heading, what we're going to experience. It tends to repeat itself. Looking back 100 years on Wayne Township, firefighting has come a long way. EMS has come a really long way. Back in the old days, it was bucket brigade at best. It was forming a line from the well to whatever the building was that was burning. The greatest struggles were, did you actually have enough water? And could you get your neighbors to come help you put the fire out? In the 1930s, Indianapolis Fire Department actually began bringing water out into the townships when we had house fires. Unfortunately, the legislature got involved and the state Supreme Court got involved, and they were essentially told that their liability immunity for the firefighters stopped at city limits. That was true also of the town of Claremont and all the other municipalities and towns in Marion County, which meant that the IFP couldn't bring the water out anymore. So the solution was the sheriff, the county sheriff, when they got message that there was a fire out in the township, they would go to the jail and grab inmates, and they would go get on the fire truck, and they would haul the water out to the township. Well, that didn't work very well. As you can imagine, it took some time to get word to the sheriff to go get the inmates to bring the truck out. The end result was, in the 1930s, the communities here in Wayne Township began forming neighborhood fire departments. We had 9 of them. We had pictures you see here, Mars Hill, we had Drexel Garden, we had Bridgeport. That building you see on the left was in Mars Hill. That was actually the first fire station built specifically to be a fire station, the community center. And you can see they also had 3 vehicles. Those were paid for by Mars Hill residents. It was a civic group. It was all volunteer. And the way they got the word out was you would call the person whose number was listed in the neighborhood, and she had a siren on top of her house. And she would ring the siren, and everybody in the neighborhood knew they needed to go get on a truck to fight the fire. We've come a long way since then, but it has not been easy. I mean, if you go back and look at the stories, the news stories from when there were 9 volunteer departments to when they consolidated into the Wayne Township Volunteer Fire Department Incorporated and built 5 fire stations. Actually, built 3 that we know of right now. One that was here before and one that was built just recently. But that process has taken time and it's taken a lot of effort and a lot of struggle. But the intention has been to solve the problems and make folks safer. And I say that because today and in the weeks and months ahead as we move through this process, I don't want us to lose sight of where we come from, where we're going, and that all of our intentions are to make things better. This is not an easy thing. Change is hard. But change is required, and that's what we're facing here today. So those are the priorities. This is one of the reasons. This is honestly probably the biggest reason we're sitting here. Our financial future here in Wayne Township. This is a snapshot of how we've been doing going back to 2013. And if you look, the blue is our revenue, the green is our expenditures, and the yellow is what is left in the piggy bank at the end of the day. Our trends have been slowly upward, but unfortunately, if you look, our expenditures have been growing faster than our revenue. We've had some real challenges related to revenue. And if you think about what we've experienced here in Wayne Township, revenue is generated primarily by property taxes. And we've lost Rolls-Royce. The main plant there at Rolls-Royce has been torn down. We've lost Chrysler. We've lost Link Belt. And there've been a steady struggle of loss of industrial base. We've also seen an expansion of TIF districts. The airport TIF district, which is actually, part of it is up for renewal in 25, and the plan is to expand it. The city has just released plans for West Washington Street to be redeveloped from 465 out. Well, that includes expansion of the TIF district. Well, when you do a TIF district, you essentially freeze the property tax revenue for that area for local government. And the additional property tax revenue then funds the project. So it means that we're going to see that expansion dry up future revenue from that area. There are other returns on that. It hopefully creates jobs. It hopefully creates sales tax. We don't get that to operate the fire department. We're locked in with whatever it is when that TIF district is refinanced. This is originally I said it was the straw that broke the camel's back. But frankly, it's like a giant round bale of straw. Retiree health insurance fund is a liability that we knew we had, but we didn't know how bad it was. And this summer we contracted an actuarial firm to come in and look at our retiree health insurance fund. This is a fund that was set up in 2018, and actually historically they attempted to set it up back in the early 2000s. Didn't get off the ground back then, and when they did it in 2018, there were some problems. And as a result, it didn't get funded the way it should have. It's not that this money is missing. This money was never put in the bank. But the liability is there, meaning that we have retirees and we have folks who are going to retire who are expecting to be able to pull money out of the retirement fund to fund their health insurance. This is not health insurance in the sense that they can come and have health insurance here at the township. It's a reimbursable fund. So they turn in their bills. If you're a retiree, firefighters can retire at age 53. So from 53 to 65, they can draw $12,000 a year out of this fund. 45% of our firefighters are going to be eligible for retirement in the next 3 to 4 years. So we know you take 60 or 70 firefighters and they're all going to draw $12,000 a year out of it, you got to have money in the bank. If they're over 65, they can draw up to $6,000 a year for the rest of their life. and that will progress with Medicare, but that's a lot of money. That's the problem. When we really boil it down to what, besides our struggles with revenue coming off property taxes, this is the thing that we frankly can't address. People ask how we spend our money. 88% of our money goes to pay for human beings. It's salaries, it's benefits, it's the people who work here. The rest are somewhat manageable, meaning that we can choose not to spend money next year on any new equipment. We're not buying any new fire trucks or ambulances this year. We bought 3 ambulances last year because frankly we had to. The wheels were falling off our old ones. We will control those manageable costs, but for the blue part of the pie, almost all of it's contractual. We have a union contract with Local 416, and that's something we're obligated to take care of. Personal services, that's the blue section over here. To give you an idea of what's included in personal services, it's salaries, it's wages, staff pay is when they have additional certifications, how long they're here. They get bonuses for perfect attendance. They get gym reimbursement. You can see the list. PERF is our public employment retirement fund. We spend a little over $33,000 per employee on health insurance. We pay into Social Security, unemployment. All of these things are required by state and federal government. We also contribute. You see the RIF. This is what will blow your mind in terms of where we're at financially. The contribution per month per firefighter, the firefighter puts in $30 and the township puts in $60. So over the course of a year, the firefighter can say, well, we put $1,000 into the account for their retirement health insurance fund. But when they retire next year, they can take $12,000 a year out of that account. The math doesn't work there. We contribute to the 457 plan, and the PEP is a public employee health plan, portable employee. Anyway, it's a health fund that they can take with them. It's through nationwide. I should not skip that. And you see other bonuses, and overtime is the thing that, quite frankly, has been low in our budget. We're working on controlling overtime, but it's a problem. Here are our numbers. The 23 is preliminary. Beth and her team are still finishing up the audit of 23. The biggest, scariest thing that happened last year is on our line there for revenue. We forecasted more than $32 million to come in last year on revenue. We experienced a shortfall in property tax revenue because we're down the list. When you talk about priorities for property taxes, the first priority on property taxes is to pay debt. And we don't have any debt, but the school district had debt. And they refinanced their debt, and they brought that debt in under the ceiling, and it took $1.8 million out of our projected revenue. There's also the gray area of a thing called triggers, which Mike can tell you all about. The property tax system we have here in Indiana has triggers that can change how much actual revenue comes to a unit of government. We came in short on budget, and we'll see we were obviously in deficit then because we spent $35 million and we only took in 32. You can see at the bottom our balance, our operating balance is a little over $5 million. 24, which we just got started in, we are projecting 34.9 as our revenue. That number is higher than normal because you guys voted for the appeal of our property tax levy. We ran through our counting and saw that we thought we had been shortchanged in the 3 previous years in the property tax system, and the state agreed and is giving us some additional revenue for 24. We've also, as you can see, cut our expenditures from 23 to 24. Our budget is bare bones, and by that I mean we're not buying any equipment this year. We're not doing major improvements. Last year, we replaced, I can't tell you how many rooftop heating and air conditioning systems, most of which were failing. The unit that sits on top of this courtroom had a cracked heat exchanger. I don't know how long it was cracked, but it had to be replaced. We spent money on that. That's not out of the fire budget, it's out of the court budget. But that pattern of replacing things has been something that we had to address in the last year and a half, because we had things that we needed, we had to have. We had to have emergency backup generators at fire stations. We had 2 fire stations where they were inoperable. We couldn't take care of the equipment that we had in the buildings, which was there to take care of our firefighters and our community. We bought 3 ambulances last year. Like I said, that was $750,000 that we had to spend. But where it's important to look is at the bottom there. We're really not growing our emergency fund at the bottom. We're basically breaking even if you think about $300,000 out of $30 million, $35 million. And this budget is based on our contract with our firefighters, where they didn't get raises this year. So if there had been raises in that contract, we would have been way over in the deficit. This is what I refer to with the revenue projected versus the revenue shortfall from last year. You can see then the 24 revenue versus the 24 budget. That's how we're right now breaking even a little bit. People ask what it costs to have a firefighter or a medic. Base salary is $80,000. Stack pay, that's adding on certifications and longevity. The bonuses I mentioned, clothing allowance, reimbursements. The big number there on PERF, we fund firefighter retirement fully. So the Indiana PERF fund has a specific fund for firefighters. We pay the full amount. This year that amount went up 1%. That was a state mandated increase. That number of 21,608 goes into individual firefighters' PERF accounts. Insurance, I mean, it's pretty self-explanatory. All of those expenses add up. You can see the bottom of it here, but it's at the top. There you go. 173 for a firefighter, 159 total cost for a paramedic. That doesn't include overtime. We have firefighters who are paying in excess of $225,000 when you add in overtime. This is our trend. This is the financial reality of where we're heading. You see the bump there. That was because we received a large SAFER grant from the federal government. That was designed to help us transition with our aging firefighter population, because we hired in some new firefighters. But as you saw on one of the previous slides, that meant that our expenses went up because we added firefighters. Why we're trending down now in terms of expense is that we're not adding firefighters this year. It's not in the budget, we can't afford to do that. But overall picture is we're running towards a cash flow problem. We have not had to borrow money yet to make operations, but many units of government in Indiana have gotten to the point where they borrow money to get from property tax payment in December to property tax payment in June. We get our money about a month after the state collects property taxes. So come April and May, we could run low on money to the point that we have to go to the bank and ask for a loan to help us cash flow it until we get our payment of property taxes. Why EMS and why IEMS? I mean, there is already a relationship that we have with IEMS, and it's a good one. We have a half of an ambulance, and you ask, what is a half of an ambulance? A 12-hour shift that IEMS has already inside our fire territory. we cross boundaries with IEMS through a thing called a mutual aid agreement. That's basically to say, on a real emergency, the closest ambulance is going to come to you. If you call 911, it's IEMS, it's Decatur Township, it's Pike Township, it's Wayne Township, and it's all of the fire departments in Hendricks County, and it's seamless. That IEMS question, we'll work our way through. The short answer is, this IEMS question is a part of us balancing the budget and working our way through, not going into the red. We've talked about in previous meetings duplication of services, but there's also duplication of taxes. So the people who live in Wayne Township currently pay the Wayne Township Fire District tax rate of 0.76 per $100,000 or per $100. On top of that, they pay the 0.18 per $100 to Health and Hospital Corporation. So the total is 0.9494. Under these mergers, you'll still pay the Health and Hospital rate because that is a county-wide rate. And the reason that's relevant is Health and Hospital Corporation is the parent of IEMS. So IEMS benefits and operates under the Health and Hospital Corporation. But instead of the fire district rate of 0.76313, you're going to pay 0.3253, or that's what IFD's current rate is. So you can see the tax rate drops significantly. We're looking at taxpayers and we're talking about how do we fund schools and how do we maintain services. This right here is the biggest number to look at of what a decrease in property tax rate we would see. This is the other elephant in the room. As we speak, the Indiana General Assembly is meeting, and there's a bill that has been introduced before, but it didn't succeed the past. But I can count. I spent 14 years at the State House. I've talked to friends, and that bill is going to go. It's going to be heard next Wednesday. That senator is more committed than before. He's ready to go. What that bill does is eliminate the words township board and township trustee from the existing consolidation law. What that means is, right now we can negotiate. Right now we can. I'm going to go sit with IEMS and say let's figure out this interlocal agreement. And same with IFD, we can sit down and get commitments for our equipment to stay in the township, for our stations to remain open, for our employees to have seniority and rights. That's not guaranteed for, in particular, for our civilians if that bill becomes law. Because in addition to deleting township board and township trustee, that bill also deletes the word employee and inserts the word firefighter. And where that's relevant to me is that we have civilians who work for us. That's why we're sitting here tonight. We have medics, we have EMTs, we have folks in the garage at the fire department, we have logistics, we have training, we have administration, and they are not protected if that bill becomes law. I want to take care of them, and that's why you have Resolution 1 and Resolution 2 in front of you. The other thing you need to know about that bill is that it's effective upon passage. And what that means is, in the state of Indiana, you declare an emergency for a bill to become law if you put it effective upon passage. And what that means is, normally you'd have July 1st as an effective deadline or effective date, or January 1st of the following year. We want this thing to go in right away. And that's a lot. That's a hard pill to swallow. But I think you have to face it responsibly, and that's why we're here. I mentioned mutual aid earlier and interlocal agreements. We have those. That was the very first document that I signed when I got here. It is incredibly important that we can cross boundaries and help each other. You think about the Walmart warehouse fire, that involved 30 plus different fire departments. They came from all over to fight that fire. When the building behind this building burnt last winter, not only did we go fight that fire, but Speedway and IFD came and helped us. We shared aid because if we had a real disaster in Wayne Township, we would need everybody around to come help us. I'm not sure, as it stands right now, if you had 2 or 3 house fires at the same time, we would need help from our neighbors. When we have an apartment complex on fire, like the one out on Crawfordsville Road the other day, there were like four departments involved. So these agreements are in place and they stay in place because we know we've got to have mutual aid and interlocal agreements. As I mentioned, our commitment is to keep our fire stations where they're at and open and staffed and keep our equipment in place. And we've worked with IEMS and we've started to talk with IFD about all those commitments being in writing. So stations will remain open. Our firefighters, and right now we're talking about EMS, our EMS are guaranteed to stay in Wayne Township through the IEMS merger. If they want to be here, if they want to go somewhere else, that's fine too, but under the arrangement with IEMS, they can stay put. They also maintain seniority, which is a significant issue. Here are the ambulances in Wayne Township right now. Right now we have 3 ambulances, the red ones. And at the bottom is Station 81, here on Washington Street, 82, and up on 136 at Station 85. IEMS are the 4 blue ambulances. They're at Station 18, they're at Central State. They're at Station 30 on Tibbs by Lafayette Road, and they're in Speedway at Station 89. And then the one that you see in the very center of the picture is the one I was telling you about. We already have IEMS in Wayne Township. That's a 12-hour shift. It focuses on our highest run period. All of those ambulances stay in Wayne Township. There have been these rumors and emails and all kinds of things about we're going to be down to 2 ambulances in Wayne Township at night. We're going to have 6.5 ambulances in Wayne Township, just like we have right now. There is a shift. If you look, we moved the 12-hour ambulance from my fire headquarters into Station 82, and we moved the ambulance from here at 82's out to Station 84 on 10th Street, there by Ben Davis. That's really driven by data. That is a run data-driven calculation. IEMS has looked at our runs and says this is the better distribution of the ambulances, and that's where it came from. I put this here because, as I mentioned, when we look back at history, and I learned something the other day. First off, Bud Miller's fine. This is just a training. But we implemented this in the 1950s, I believe, where we started training all of our firefighters to be EMTs. So when we talk about the IEMS merger, we talk about ambulances and where they're positioned and response times, and what we've got to put on the table and remember is that all of our firefighters at all 5 stations on all of the trucks are EMTs. So when you have an emergency and you're wondering, where's the ambulance? When the fire truck pulls up, you've already got an EMT on the scene. You've already got multiple EMTs on the scene. So we're not just talking about providing medical service through 5 ambulances or 6.5 ambulances. We're talking about multiple fire stations with multiple fire trucks and lots of people. I also want to talk about communication. this was a tough thing. You know, I mentioned the woman who would answer the phone and then go outside and ring the siren on top of her house to let the neighborhood know. Well, we've progressed as a township. We had technology brought in as quickly as they could bring it in. And if you look, that piece of equipment on the right is the last Wayne Township communication system. To get rid of that was a really difficult thing for this township. It caused a lot of consternation because we didn't want to give up our communication system. But the reality is we merged our communication system with the 911 system, not just for Marion County, but for Marion County, Hendricks County, Boone County's linked into it. We share resources. If we hadn't made that decision, you would still have to live in Wayne Township and dial one number for if you needed fire from one side of the township, or another number for fire service on the other side of the township. Things have progressed in a good way. But when they did this, people hated that change. Couldn't believe we were going to give up communication control. I think that's the end of the slideshow. I just want to say, I know this is tough. And I want you to know that our commitment is to negotiate with IMS and with IFD in the following process to take care of our employees and also to take care of our citizens. But we really have to do this. Financially, there is no turning back of where we're heading financially. We're not there yet. That's the best news. But we see that cliff coming. We know we can negotiate right now, but if you run us into the wall, our ability to negotiate goes away. And I don't want to do that. I want to take care of folks while we still have the ability to do that. So I'd be happy to answer any questions. I didn't mention the second resolution. If you would like me to, it's much simpler.
Sure.
So people are leaving here because we're merging with IEMS. Our civilians need to be taken care of, and they have bonuses that they would normally get in the course of the year, quarterly bonuses, end-of-year bonus. They also have a PTO, paid time off system. I feel obligated. I feel it's the right thing to do is to take care of them. And so what you see on Resolution 2 is that you authorize me, that money has been allocated to be spent later this year, that you authorize me if they are sticking with us until we move to that merger process, that we take care of them. We need to make sure that those bonuses are paid out. And that's what Resolution 2 does.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I have a question for Jeff.
Well, first, we have a process. First, do our board members, we haven't gone into public comment yet. Do any of our board members have any questions
Yes.
you would like to?
Yes, I have some questions that came to me from some EMS employees. How many full-time employees are there now in Wayne? And how many have given notice if this merger does go through?
I don't have that exact number. I think, I'm looking for our HR director. I believe we're in the 23, 24 range right now. Actually, I got an expert
And
right
then I got
behind
two
me.
more questions.
What's the next one?
Okay, my next question is on Section 10 and it's 24.1. Okay, we're giving all of our equipment and everything to IFD. Are they going to pay?
It's IEMS.
Okay, right. I'm sorry, EMS. Okay, we're giving them all of our ambulances and everything. Are they going to give us any kind of stipends or anything for this equipment that they're getting that's paid for? Because we have no debt against that.
Yeah, but they assume all the liability as well as the asset. And by that I mean some of those ambulances don't have the value that you see on that paper. They estimate it high, but some of them are on their way to just being parts. There is no exchange of money, but what they do give us is, first off, a commitment that they maintain service for us. And secondly, they honor our employees in terms of seniority and the structure of things that they have coming in. So our employees will come in to IEMS with the start date of whatever it was they started here in Wayne Township with. So they won't come in as new employees with IEMS. They also, in terms of the vacations and things they plan for this year, IEMS is going to honor all of the scheduling, and they'll work around whatever plans they've already made, so there's not a disruption to their schedule this year. Those commitments were made to us by IEMS as we exchange the assets.
Okay, and my last question is, why is a senator from Hamilton County pushing the merger here to get it through so quickly before our people have a chance to really talk and think about this?
I can't speak for the senator.
Okay, I have, the only question that I have is, I got a call. I know I read it in the resolution where it talked about the salary possibly decrease, and wanted to know how that works. You know, where if there's a decrease in salary when we're saying they're going to be on the same level if they leave from one.
Yeah, it really depends on first off seniority, second off which schedules they choose to work. Our EMS employees work 24-hour shifts when they're here. So they work an overnight shift. They start at 7 a.m. They go home at 7 a.m. IEMS does not do that. They have 12-hour shifts, and they pay day shift differently than they pay night shift. So, you know, if you're trying to compare apples to apples, it's difficult to do unless you say to our firefighter or our EMS, you're going to work a night shift and you're going to pick up overtime. Because the other thing about our schedule is we have essentially mandatory overtime built into our schedules because we make people work 24-hour shifts. So what we have done is to have IEMS meet with our EMS employees, both as a group, and then they've offered to do it individually. And I've participated in all 6 of the meetings we did with the group. I've participated in a couple of the individual meetings to try and tell folks this is where you're going to be at in terms of this pay scale, depending on which shift you pick. My observation is that the longer you've been with Wayne Township, the greater the likelihood you actually see a raise moving to IEMS. But that 24-hour shift versus 12-hour shift is a tough issue because people have built lifestyle, they've built, you know, their family or whatever around that 24-hour shift. I know moving from 24 to 12 is going to present some folks with a real challenge. Some of them have already left. We've had EMS who've already left to go to other surrounding fire districts that offer the 24-hour shift because that's what they want. But that they're moving to areas that have less busy EMS runs also. We have seen our EMS just accelerate. We're extremely busy, and I'm going to let Chief Stewart talk to that. But as a result, I mean, you've got some ambulances that will run 20 runs in 24 hours. Mm-hmm. So they're not getting sleep. There's no downtime. Frankly, if we weren't addressing this issue, we would be here addressing the fact that we have a 24-hour shift for EMS. Because we can't continue to do that. It's not fair to the employees. It's not fair to the citizens. It's not in our financial best interest to do that. But this moving to IEMS answers that problem because they run 12-hour shifts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any other questions from my board?
Can I defer to Chief Stewart so that he can talk a little bit about?
Sure.
That's very helpful. Thank you.
can't, so what was your question on numbers again?
Okay, how many full-time EMS should be staffed currently? How many are full-time now, and how many have given notice or have already left because of the IEMS merger?
Okay, so our full staffing is 33 paramedics and EMTs, and then we add an additional 3 paramedics as paramedic supervisors or EMS duty officers. So full staffing for us would be 36. As of today, we received 2 more resignations, so I don't know if Dylan's around here, but we're at that 17 or 18 number. And we anticipate at least 4 more by mid-February. So that's going to take us down into the 14, 15, depending, and that's what we know of. So we are currently running a hiring process. We interviewed 4 people for full-time positions, and we have, I don't know how many, I think there are 8 or 9 for part-time positions. So we may add a few there. Obviously, 3 or 4 full-timers is not going to make up almost half of the staff that we've lost. So that's the numbers we're currently at, and we've also had our paramedic supervisor. They now staff ambulances before they staff the supervisor's truck. So if there's a staffing shortage, we fill it with them, we fill it with firefighters, and there's some things that we do to try to bridge that up. But we're at a point there that that's not really sustainable for where we're at.
So even though we got the extra equipment last year and we were looking good, solid, now we're losing.
Well, we're just losing employees just, based on this conversation. And I mean, it's understandable. People have to do what's best for them and their families. And there is an impact to schedules and things like that. But for our service, we are truly at a staffing shortage at this point. And it's not effective service. Again, we're using firefighters to fill trucks. We have a part-time staff that's really been kind of, carrying us here. But how long that maintains is, we don't know.
Do you feel that with the merger that IFD, that Wayne Township residents will get the same response time or less than what they currently now, or will it be longer response times?
So what I can tell you is I don't know that. I can explain to you what I think is important is our discussions with IMS. I can give you an example of a couple runs we've had, but it'll be a new system built out in the township. So right now we send Wayne Township ambulances in Wayne Township within a 10-minute window because we want to get the revenue. We want to get that money back to our ambulance service. So an example would be a few days ago. If you want specifics, we can get you the run numbers and all that. But we had a run down here in the Washington and Holt Road area. And since that's within 10 minutes of our North ambulance, at 85, they took the run. Medic 18 was on station in service. So in the newer system, Medic 18 would take that run. So they would be there quicker. If they sign off in what we call an SOR, they were probably gone before our ambulance got there. And so what we will see with Medic 89, 18, and 30s, we won't have that billing wall anymore where we're sending our truck up to 10 minutes out before we will call because we want to get that revenue. Now saying that, if it's an urgent run, what we call an A+, a trauma run, a gunshot stabbing, cardiac arrest, things like that, the billing thing goes out the window, so I don't think we're just, but if it's a significant run or a serious run, we send the closest. If it's not that run, which those are only about 8% of our runs, then we have the window where we try to get the bill. So since we haven't set up the 6.5 runs, the 6.5 ambulances with what would be ambulance 81, 485, ambulance for medic 82, and then we have 30s, 89s, which is Speedway, and 18s. So we haven't ran that model with no walls. So in that run that I just gave you an example of, 18s would come in, 85s would stay in their area, so that area would maintain coverage with that medic truck. So we don't know what that looks like. So can I, if I sit here and tell you there's going to be no change and there's, a certain run where there's 30 seconds or a minute delay, I feel it's going to go both ways, but that happens now.
our ambulances go to IMS, theirs come in, we kind of crossroads because of some of the walls that I talked about that we used to have, and that affects our time. So we don't know how that's going to look, but just in that one example, we feel that at least we're going to have a shot to get the truly closest truck to a run when they call. There's going to be anomalies, and I'm sure there's going to be circumstances and high volume times, but we can tell you that we will truly be sending the closest truck. And when we talk about trucks in Wayne Township, a lot of us focus on just Wayne Township's fire area. We're truly talking the entire township now for coverage. So it's not just our fire area, it's the entire township, which we will now have more immediate access to all those trucks. So, you know, it's not I think the only change from what we do now is we take down some of those barriers to get the closest truck. So, you know, will every run, you know, have a perfect service? We don't now, and very possibly we won't then, but I can assure you that we will be sending the closest truck to the service now. So it'll take us some time to just see how those stats work out. And IMS has been very good across the county about modeling and changing. So if they see something, which is why they're moving the truck from here up there. So they will look at things, and in 90 days, if it's not working out, they've committed to us that they will make those changes. So, you know, we trust them at that and see how it works. So I guess to your question, we'll send the closest truck that's available, regardless of timelines you're going, and we'll take those walls down, and we'll see how the response times work.
Thank you.
And before we go into the public comment period, and I have some parameters I'd like to set for that. But again, do we have any other questions or concerns from our board? Okay, with that said, during the public comment period, we will hear from each person that emailed or signed up with Jeff Harris prior to this meeting today. Each speaker must be a Wayne Township resident and give their name and address prior to speaking. This comment period is related only to Resolution 2401 and Resolution 2402, which deal with emergency medical services in Wayne Township. Please keep your remarks on topic. Also, this is a comment period. We will not take questions at this time. You may send questions to the township office. At a future meeting, there will be a public hearing to discuss fire consolidation. Testimony regarding fire consolidation will be taken at that time. Each person will have 3 minutes to speak, and there will be a timekeeper who will call time when that's over. If deemed necessary, I, as the chair, in discretion, may allow additional 15 seconds to finish your statement. I would also allow public comment from the list I have received to 8 p.m. if necessary. If we have not completed testimony at that time, the public comment period will end. Please keep your comments, and this is a very important piece, and I will enforce it. Please keep your comments within the limits of appropriate public discussion. Anyone using abusive language or disparaging another individual will be ruled out of order and will forfeit your remaining time to speak. Again, there will be no abusive language, no disparaging of others, individuals on this board or anyone affiliated with this office. You'll be ruled out of order and forfeit your remaining of the time. Our first speaker up will be Brian McKee, representing Local 416. Let's see. Brian still here? All right. Do we have, up next, we have Mike.
There he is.
You up.
Thanks for allowing me to speak. I'm not a resident. I'm a current resident. I've been a resident house here in Wayne Township since 1996, so I do have some ties to the area. I'm currently the local 416 district president for Wayne Township. As far as the merger, I mean, I understand all the financials. My thing is, I think we're rushing a tad bit. I think we need time. I think we owe this to the individuals that have worked here, some of them for 20 years. I'll go back to numbers, and it's pretty amazing the way we look at things. And, you know, we have pretty much nobody to blame but ourselves, right? And that's current and past trustees, administrations. We've overspent, we've miscalculated, or however we've done it. But we've put ourselves in this position. And so at the end of the day, we have to look at each other and say, hey, we've done this. As far as EMS, I think that they're dwindling themselves already, unfortunately. And I've tried to put it out there where they're going to try and stay, but unfortunately that's not happening. And I'll give you the real numbers, okay? We have 26 or 36 that are gone, either now or will be shortly. That's no joke. We have 5 that have committed to me that they're going to IMS. 5. I don't know what they thought they were getting, but that's 5 people. So I don't know what service is going to look like. We can guess and act, but I mean, we're actually losing 1 truck, right? We're moving trucks around, yes. We don't know what those response times are. We won't know until it happens. We currently have 4 ambulances, not 3. We have 4. We're going to lose one of those. They're going to take it out of the area. Now, that said, again, Wayne Township's a big area. We do have other ambulances in service, the 18s, 30s, 89s. So we also have the mutual aid agreements with other townships, other counties. So I don't know. But we don't know. That's all a guesstimate. And I can say that yes, they have said they're committed to making sure the responses don't change. But we just don't know. The major part for most of our EMS folks is the 12-hour shifts. They don't like them. When you drop a truck out, you're making those people run 12 hours. They're going to be working. And we can say all day long, oh, well, they do 20 runs in a day here. Well, yeah, then they have 2 days to recuperate. They go to IMS, they work 4 days in a row.
Time.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Mike Weingartner.
Very good.
The trustee, Mr. Chairman, members of the advisory board, my fellow Wayne Township residents, and everybody else in attendance today, thank you for allowing me to speak. My sole purpose here tonight is to educate many of you on what this proposal is.
Sorry. Would you mind stating your name one more time and as well as your address?
Yes, Mike Weingartner, and I reside at 615 South High School Road in front of Trent Park. You're welcome. My sole purpose here tonight is to educate many of you on this proposed Wayne Township merger with IFD and IEMS means to all of us in Wayne Township as it relates to decreased coverage and increased response times for the emergency medical services component. I'm not going to tell you that everything's going to be the same or it's going to be better, because it's not. But I'm going to cite to you here tonight why and why I'm uniquely qualified to speak on the matter. First off, again, my name is Mike Weingartner. I've been involved in EMS in Marion County for 4 years. I've been a working paramedic for the past 35 years in Marion County. I currently work as a 911 paramedic in Marion County. I've held various roles over the past 35 years, including a paramedic preceptor with the Methodist and EMS, Methodist and St. Vincent EMS education programs here in Marion County. I've been a field training officer and a write-out EMS duty officer. Let me start by saying I have no concerns with IFD taking over fire services in Wayne Township. I believe they do a very good job at providing the needed coverage and the fire protection services that the folks of Wayne Township have come to expect over the years. My concern is with the prospect of IEMS coming in and trying to provide paramedic ambulance transport services and being able to maintain the level of service and response that we currently have without a merger. I say this because on any given day, Indianapolis EMS has between 4 and 8 trucks marked out of service for staffing issues. They don't have the manpower to provide the service. What currently occurs during these times of trucks being out of service is that the township ambulances get pulled from their coverage areas, as well as ambulances from other counties getting pulled into Marion County. The result of this is an increased response time, a delay in service, a delay in transport. Now, to be fair, not every 911 call is a medical emergency, but for those that are, these delays that I've just outlined result in a difference between a good or a poor outcome for the patient, and in some instances, it may mean the difference between life and death. I've watched and listened to IEMS management during television interviews over the past week say that the decreased number of available ambulances and staffing shortages do not pose a concern for public safety and will not increase response times. That, my friends, is just not true. This is first grade math. If you pull an ambulance from a township or a surrounding county and expect them to travel across Marion County to a run they can't cover, they're going to have an increased response time. They have an increased distance to cover. Maya, go ahead.
Was that your, I'll let you finish your last statement.
If all this seems a little more dramatic than good, it needs to be. People need to understand what this means for all of us if this is allowed to go through. The number of ambulances dedicated to Wayne Township will go down. Response times will go down, or I'm sorry, response times will go up. Delays in transports will go up. The time it takes for a patient to receive definitive care inside a hospital will go up. These all conclude with worsening outcomes for the patients. Wayne Township deserves better.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for your time, Chairman.
Next, we have Byron Jones.
Good evening, Board, and thank you for the opportunity to speak. My name is Byron Jones. I reside at 118 Ponsonby Court. I'm a resident of Wayne Township. My first just kind of comment is how is this going to be better for the township? I saw on the media today that it was reported that a majority or a lot of residents in the township support this. I don't know how they can, since most people don't really know about it. First off, there's very little detail that's been provided. I can understand why some of it's still being worked out. I appreciate that part of it. But as it was just mentioned, response times aren't going to be better. I was a member of Wayne Township as a volunteer part-time employee for 27 years. I know how it has been in the past, and we've got IMS taking runs that are coming into the township because all of our ambulances are out on other runs. And so we're cutting down on the number of ambulances in the township. And so that means IMS is going to have to come in, or we're going to have to be covering IMS because they're short-staffed, as it's already been mentioned. So that means those 4 ambulances or 6 are going to be other places. And I'm not getting any younger. When are they going to get to me if I have a heart attack? Especially like coming from another station. If Station 84 right now is closest to me. Last I knew that there was a contract with the corporation, Wayne Township Fire Department Corporation, for that station. And once the corporation would be dissolved, the school was looking to take that back. So I don't know where that is, but that was the last I knew when I was involved in the department. If Station 84 goes away, Station 83 will be my closest ambulance, and they'll be setting at Rural School Road because SACS has got trains parked on the track many times during the day. So where's that ambulance going to be coming from? And as we've already heard, IMS is losing staff. And most of the staff for Wayne Township IMS doesn't want to go there. I'll just be honest, I've heard from a lot of people when I was on, nobody wanted to go to IMS, and I don't think they still want to go to IMS. That's why you only have 5 wanting to go there at this time. So it's not going to help their staffing situation. I don't see it helping our staffing situation if they take it over. And where is that ambulance if it doesn't come from here? Is it going to come from downtown? Is it going to come from the east side? Is it going to come from Plainfield? Where is it going to come to serve the township resident? I understand EMS gets abused a bunch. It gets abused, it gets called. I used to work on the ambulance. People are sitting at the door with their suitcase to get a ride to the hospital. We need to fix that system. Thank you for the time.
Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have Tina Biggood and I'm killing it today. Jennifer Spivey.
They speaking together?
Don't hold that against me, okay?
That's you.
It's my daughter, I love her. Okay, I had a whole list, but almost everybody else has already covered everything I was gonna say. Tina Bidgood, 755 Sunglow Circle, Sunset Lakes, addition off of Bridgeport. I've been a resident of the west side my whole life. 23 years ago I bought my house. I've had personal experiences with Wayne Township Fire Department, EMTs, and paramedics. 26 years ago, can you imagine your child, your daughter, dying in your arms? Well, if it wouldn't have been for their quick response, within minutes, my daughter didn't die in my arms. She did die on the way to the hospital. But how can you live with the fact that your child died in your arms? And that's only because they were there so quickly. And unfortunately, in 2019, we went through the same experience. Our son died, had a heart attack. He was in my husband's arms. Wayne Township was there within minutes and got him to the hospital. He did have 2 heart attacks and he passed away. But he didn't die in our home because they got there quickly. And how any parent could ever live with themselves with their child dying in their arms is, I don't think they could. My fact is, we have the best fire department, EMS, paramedics, I would say, in the state of Indiana. And as a resident, I don't want to lose them. I don't want to have an accident happen and I'm left with one of my loved ones in my arms. I had blood clots in my lungs after a surgery, and they took me to the hospital many times. Imagine not being able to breathe because you have blood clots. And without their help, who knows what would have happened. So as the community, I know how many elderly people live in my complex, and none of them knew anything about this. And the only reason I do know is because of family members that are EMS with Wayne Township and how important their jobs are to them and how they don't want to leave. They don't want to go to IEMS. The firemen, I understand, is the same thing. They don't want to leave this community. It's a great community. We all love it, and it wouldn't be without these men and women who love their jobs so much. And as residents, I don't want to move. I love where I live, but I don't want someone coming from the east side to try to get to me or my husband or my son. We only have 2 children left, and so I want to keep them safe, and I want the response time that we deserve.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Next, we have Bradford Malton.
Good evening, Bradford Moulton, Wayne Township resident, firefighter and paramedic, 5428 Chestnut Woods Drive, Indianapolis, Indiana. First of all, I want to thank you all very much for allowing me to speak this evening. I only have 2 minutes to educate, well, 3 minutes to educate you the history, and the trustee had way more time. We're better than IFD, and we bragged about that for years. It doesn't take a consultant to tell you that. Only in the most 2 recent trustees have we really had an issue with revenue going down, because we've spent more. Revenue may have gone down, but we're spending more, and it's not just on personnel services. We chose not to plan our debt. We chose to pay cash and not go into debt services. And by that, we chose to spend that money. I'm not saying debt services is the way to go, but it gets paid first. I ask all 5 of you that are in front of me, please do not make a decision tonight. Listen to all of us, whether we work for the fire department, whether we're citizens, or whether we're here to ask you to please consider the brevity of what's happening tonight. EMS response with only 3 medics in Wayne Township is not the same. We currently have 4 ambulances, ALS staffed 24/7, not 3, and an additional 12-hour BLS truck. If IEMS takes over Wayne Township, we will not have a district lieutenant or an EDO in Wayne Township, and we will have less services available. Fire engines and paramedics like myself, as a paramedic on a fire engine, I don't carry drugs to save your child who is seizing or to give you pain medicine when you have a broken leg. That comes from a transporting ambulance. We need those here. Savings on taxes. We've heard a couple times 64% savings on a fire tax. It may be a 64% reduction in the fire tax. However, that does not mean a 64% savings on your actual tax bill. Most of us only pay a 1% tax cap or a 2% tax cap. The reality is, on my home, appraised at $225,000, I'm looking at saving less than $13 a year. Let that sink in. Hours and pay for our EMS folks. Most will lose $25,000 a year or more. Our employees don't leave because they're leaving a 24-hour shift. They're leaving Wayne Township because they don't want to be IEMS. Only 5 so far have agreed to stay at IEMS. Hours, pay, insurance costs. For example, for a family of 4, insurance costs will change to $1,336 a month for a family plan for a family of 4. Staffing at IEMS is not enough and won't improve with consolidation. Everyone, I ask all of you, please take a moment and realize the importance of this. Regardless, you've heard that we pay Social Security taxes. We don't pay Social Security taxes on our firemen. Firemen don't pay Social Security tax, and neither does the trustee pay Social Security tax on that. So I ask you this, please consider what's going on. Don't make a decision this evening and allow the public to talk. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time.
Thank you. Next we have Jennifer Witt.
Hello, my name is Jennifer Witt. I'm a proud resident of Wayne Township, and I've been a lifelong member of Wayne Township. I live at North Pearl School Road. And I want to commend the board's proactive approach in addressing the upcoming financial challenges. Being transparent that they're there and sharing that information with the public is important. Based on the information provided, I feel the proposed merger sounds like a necessary step for our community's fiscal responsibility. However, I also, as a resident, have seen the power of our local fire department and understand the strain of change in hours and uncertainty of the negotiations that will happen around their pay, their retirement, and their benefits, and their team that they've built over years and in many cases decades. So while I appreciate that we've been told existing fire stations will stay open and personnel will be offered comparable positions, maintaining the high standards we expect and ensuring our emergency responders are continued to be compensated fairly, and our community retains those positions in firehouses, I want to be clear and transparent that those negotiations and those guarantees will be finalized in the next steps of these negotiations. Those are not things that this board controls. That is part of that negotiation process. The strain on tax rates Brad did a great job of explaining that there are tax caps that then lower our rates, and so there's a distribution of those funds. So while the portion dedicated to the fire and emergency response system will change, perhaps our individual taxpayers will be compensated differently. As one of the admins of the Wayne Township Chatter page, I have many times explained to people the calculations on their property tax forms, and there's a lot of uncertainty with that. And so ensuring that we're clear and transparent about what will change for our individual homeowners, whether it's $14, I've not done the math yet, or $7, as well as where the funds, if they're continuing to be paid, will go. Like our school system, which, as all of you know, across the country, there's a crisis in teacher retention and supplies and education. That needs to be clear and transparent. Considering the successful mergers of 5 other townships, the support of people like the mayor of Beech Grove and others who have gone through this process, we know that it's not easy. We know it's not all rainbows and sunshine, but that it is successful, and that we can be confident that Wayne Township could follow in a similar path. Again, not a perfectly rainbow and sunshine path, but one where we can negotiate what that looks like. I just want to urge the board to continue to evaluate and listen to the public on this. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next we have Audrey Stricker. Thank you.
Hello, board. Hello, folks. I'm Audrey Strecker. I live at 6501 Bower Drive in a little neighborhood across the street from Cranner Park, where my neighbors spoke a little earlier. I am the president of the HOA for my subdivision. We have 63 homes. And speaking with my neighbors, we realized that this merger is something that we do need to look into. This is something that I believe we need. And I do believe that, based on the information provided, that this would be good for our community. I like what Jennifer Witt said, that she urged you to look into this a little further, maybe not make a vote tonight, but I like the idea of all the transparency, how Trustee Jeb Barden let us know that, look, this is a cliff that's right here. We need to do something to try to avoid it. I had a personal experience last July 4th. We were downtown on the Circle watching the fireworks, and IEMS came within 5 minutes when I fell. I fell and I got a concussion, and I passed out. And my husband saved me. He called out to call 911, and IEMS was there within 2 minutes, and they took good care of me. And I believe that this merger would be good for us. Thank you.
Thank you. We keep going forward.
Next we have Zach Perry. Zach Perry.
Hi there, my name is Zach Perry. I live at 3111 Sheridan Avenue. I've been a resident of Wayne Township for about 2 years now. I support the consolidation of Wayne Fire Department with IFD, as it will ensure the longevity of the benefits that the men and women of the township and their employers are entitled to. It is also important that the community takes into account the bill currently at the State House. The township needs to be proactive in preventing the loss of seniority or any other benefits for any of the employees. Preservation of contractual obligations on terms set by the township is much better than being dictated by those in the State House. I'm also a member of organized labor with operating engineers. As a member of a union, I stand with our firefighters who have voted overwhelmingly with their own union in favor of consolidation. If the men and women who put their lives on the line are in support of this, I am too. I ask the board to please vote in favor of consolidation for the citizens of our community and the working men and women of the Wayne Township Fire Department. Thank you.
Thank you.
Next, and just a reminder, we're just speaking on Resolution 2024 about the merger of EMS Division of the Wayne Township Fire Department with Indianapolis Medical Services. Next, we have Charles Pettiford.
I'm going to pass because mine is dealing with the fire side.
Cashier, thank you, sir. We have Rachel Hawkins.
Hi, my name is Rachel Hawkins. I live at 608 South Edge Hill Road. I'm the homeowner and business owner here in Wayne Township. 13 years ago, my father, who was battling cancer at the time, fell. And my sister and my mom and I were trying to do everything we could to get him up. And so I called 911. IEMS was there, Wayne Township Ambulance Service was there within probably less than a minute. It was amazing on the response time. After hearing, how fast everything has moved with this and how the response times, whether, what they're saying right now is that they're not going to change. I think that everybody deep down knows that they will. I hope that this board will vote against the merger. Or in the, at least try to look at things from what's going to change. That way we can analyze things further. Because Wayne Township residents deserve the best. And I hope that this board will take that into consideration. Thank you.
Thank you. Next we have John Smith.
Yes, my name is John Schmitz. I live at 2820 South Fleming Street in Mars Hill. Me and my wife started the Mars Hill Art Center about 10 years ago, and one of the things that we've noticed since we moved here in 2018, we had a $3 million emergency fund. And the next trustee came in, he spent that money, and it just seems like to me there's been a lot of mismanagement. How did we get to this point? At this juncture where our hair's on fire, when we have to make a decision tonight. I heard a lot of numbers up here. I have more questions than I got answers, because if PERF is funded, then why are we $7 million behind? There's a lot of questions here, and I feel sorry for y'all. I mean, you're basically part-time, public officials. You have to sit here and make a decision for a community that obviously some are for it, some are against it, some are neutral. I just want the ambulance to show up at my house. And I just think that this is really getting pushed through very quickly. And it seems like this has been brewing for several years. And how did we get to this point now where we have to make a snap decision, and then we have to try to make a decision that's going to be maybe wrong, maybe right, we don't know. But if somebody needs an ambulance out in our community, do we know if they're going to show up on time? So thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, John. Next we have Bob Lutz.
Good evening. It's nice to see some old colleagues that I've worked with over the years, and
Good to see you, Counselor.
Building's changed a little bit since I was here last, but anyway. I'm here as the attorney for Claremont, the town of Claremont. My name is Bob Lutz. I'm also a Wayne Township resident. I reside at 1156 Texarkana Drive over in Avon Creek, and I'm a newly moved in Wayne Township resident. I've just lived here since 1973. So I'm seeing a little bit of this history that we've had with the fire department and the ambulance service. And I commend our fire department, I commend our ambulance service. I have never, some may remember me as maybe being opposed to fire consolidation. I've really never been opposed to it. Personally, I've only didn't want it shoved down our throat by the state legislature. If you folks decide after seeing everything that it's the best thing to do, I think it's probably a wise move. And I would support, and conceptually, I'll speak to this now. On behalf of the town of Claremont, we have had a contract with Wayne Township, the fire service, for a number of years. And Claremont's $95 million assessed valuation has the same tax rate applied to it under our formula of the contract as the same as all of the Wayne Township residents have. But I have not seen the actual resolutions before you tonight, so I can't comment on it particularly, but we have two portions of Claremont in Marion County, and they're a little different than the other included towns because we have most of it in Wayne Township and part of it in Pike Township. Conceptually, the town supports, and I'll just speak to the IMS part right here, we support it conceptually, and I say conceptually because the important thing for us is once it takes place, we want to be sure that we have the same quality emergency medical services that everyone else in the township has. We're not asking for anything better. And we're asking for it for Wayne Township residents as well as our Pike Township residents. Because for Pike to get an ambulance over into the northern part of Claremont, it takes a long time because their stations just aren't close. We also just want to be sure that any merger of the fire department or the ambulance service also includes all of Claremont. Again, I haven't seen the resolution, so I don't know exactly what it says, but I've seen other resolutions, and I've voted on other resolutions from Perry and Franklin and Warren, I believe, and most of them have some sort of wording in it that would cover any agreements or any coverage that they have within existing. Okay. Other than that, we just ask that the same rate be applied to us. We're paying the IEMS and Health Hospital rate, the same as everybody else. So that's all that we ask when you consider it.
Thank you.
Do we have, this portion will have discussion from our board, and what would, Ms. Charlotte, do you have a comment?
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, I just wanted to say that I've been on the board for quite some time. Actually, this is my 20th year, and I've never been for us merging. I've never been for it. I've always fought for Wayne Township to keep this fire department and everything else. Now, my problem was I trusted people. I trusted people who were in authority that came to the board and would tell us that they were doing certain things and needed certain things, and we would approve them. And then when it came to me that we were entertaining this merger, my thought was, what happened? You know, how did we get here? And I say I got here from me trusting the wrong people, in my opinion. My thing now is, the young man got up and said that over half of the people are already gone. We only have 5 people that are on EMS now?
No, we have
committed.
Currently 26 committed to go other places.
But they're gonna leave unless.
Because we've not been given any information.
Okay.
We've asked for a date for months.
I'm not in favor of voting for this right now. I'm not in favor of it. I want to take my time with it. I want to take it. Because my question is, if it's not done, then what can be done? What's the other solution? You know, I understand you don't want it. I understand that. But if you don't do it, then what's going to happen? And I definitely don't want the state to come in, and then you don't have any choices. You don't have any say. You don't want that. I need a minute, so I can't vote. If you vote tonight, I have to abstain from it. I can't vote tonight.
Any other?
Well, I would just like to add, I'm for an individual, anyone who knows me, God bless the child that has his own, and I've always been for we need our own in Wayne Township. But I'm just trying to, at the same time, and anybody who knows me know I'm going to try to look at this from a fair perspective. We need to know exactly how this is going to really affect our township overall financially as a whole. And what I would like for the trustee to come back to give me another to explain to me again about this vote that's taking place with the legislature on Wednesday. How exactly is this legislature vote going to affect us? And so I would like to have another explanation, because
That's why we have no.
I want to be fair, and at the same time, I want to remove doors and look at what's in the best interest of the township, because that's the overall responsibility, our responsibility as a board. This is a difficult task. Mr. John, you said it best tonight, that this is a difficult task ahead of us. And we just want to be sure. We don't know if it's the right thing that we're going to do tonight. We don't know if it's the wrong thing. But, there are some questions that I still do have. And I don't want to see the township go broken. Like Ms. Sharda said, we trusted some folks that's got us into this situation. But we are here. The bottom line is we're here, and we have to deal with it one way or the other. It has to be dealt with. And so I just need another explanation, Mr. Trustee, about what happens on Wednesday, because as you said, we want to be sure our employees are protected. That's one of my main concerns as well. And then I heard the gentleman also say that if this happens, we won't have any lieutenants in the district. I don't understand what that means if we're told that the seniority is not going to change, it's going to stay the same. So how's that we won't have any lieutenants in the district? And then another, the mother who said, who had difficulty with her two children. I'm concerned about the response time for the railroad tracks. I mean, there seemed to be, in listening to this public hearing tonight, there seemed to be so much that we need to look at and really consider in order to do the right thing. I want to do what's right for everybody, and I get it. We got 5 people who have agreed to go, 26 is still here, but the numbers, if the numbers say what the numbers say, guys, this is a difficult decision. The numbers don't lie. And so I'm not having a really good time with this, because I want to do what's right for the township. I'm removing doors and removing myself from this board and looking at the overall township. Number 1, the numbers don't lie. And number 2, we got to be sure that our employees are protected, and I got to know for a fact that they truly are protected. And so, Mr. Trustee, just let me know where we are, if we do this tonight, if we don't do this tonight, what happens?
We put this on this calendar tonight because we knew it was a complicated issue, and we knew we needed to talk about it. This is not something we're rushing, and by that I mean this conversation started a long time ago. The answer about where the details are is that it's very, very difficult to negotiate something with IEMS and IFD until the board authorizes me to do that. I've gotten commitments, but there is no contract in place with anybody. As to the timeline with the State House, as I said, Senator Baldwin is going to have that bill heard next week. That process moves in a 2-step way. It goes through the Senate, through the House, and if both houses agree, it becomes law if the governor signs it. That process has to be done by the end of the legislative session, which is early March, typically. We're looking at that bill, if it becomes law, going into effect upon passage. So what I'm telling you is that will be a law in March if it passes. Our next scheduled meeting is February 22nd. So what we're going to be in a situation of is trying to finish up what we want to finish up with IMS in a 2 to 3 week window. The other thing is that for employees to move from EMS here in Wayne Township to IEMS, there's a transition in terms of time. You have to onboard. IEMS does a background check, and it's a process. It's not something that just can happen overnight. We can wait. There's nothing that says we have to do this tonight. I can tell you that the 22nd is going to be difficult just because of the crunch that it's going to put us under. We might consider another meeting sometime early February to finish or continue this conversation. We still need to figure out the IFD piece of the puzzle also. That sits on the table tonight as resolution number 3, but we cannot take that up for business by law for 30 days. So that's why we're looking at February 22nd.
Okay. But what is, okay, tell me if I'm right or wrong. If it's not done, then within a couple years, there won't be an EMS anyway? Is that what you're saying?
The way the bill is written, it goes into effect immediately, and we are no longer part of the process. By that I mean negotiation of a consolidation.
I'm not talking about the state, I'm talking about our finances. We can't afford, you're saying we can't afford.
We're going to have trouble the second half of 25. We probably, cash flow wise, unless we really can continue to squeeze spending, we're going to probably have to borrow money the second half of 25, cash flow wise, heading into the property tax payment in December of 25. The state collects the taxes in November. We all pay our property taxes in November. The township won't receive money from the state until December, the lump sum of it. And we'll be tight. And at 26, we'll be really, really tight.
So did you say that we had a little more wiggle room here?
Absolutely. I think what we've put out publicly is there could be a vote tonight on this issue. It doesn't have to be. But we are in a time crunch. I mean, if the legislature does what they do, we're no longer at the table.
And that's next Wednesday, is that what you're saying?
That's the start, so that's a committee hearing. Committee hearing starts the process.
If a lot of people go down there and fight against that, can we maybe have that committee to put it on hold until next?
You absolutely can do that. I can't tell you that what the outcome is there.
Didn't it get changed anyway because they were supposed to vote or?
Yes.
Yeah, so it got moved anyway. But someone is telling you that it's for definitely going to be heard on the Wednesday. Okay. Okay, when you say, when we're referring to Wednesday, are we referring to the upcoming Wednesday?
Yes.
The 17th.
So you're.
And so that just starts the process. That's not a vote on it, though. Is that what I understand?
Typically, committee hearings in the State House, they hear a bill and vote on it in committee.
So could we not have publish a meeting for the 18th of January for the board to come and just discuss the EMS part? Would that allow us, will we be within the timeline to be enough wiggle room and be okay? If we just, okay, yeah, that's fine with me.
So the bill's already been presented? I was under the impression that it was going to be presented Wednesday,
but... It's not been heard in committee. So the legislature does a 3-step, they call it the reading of the bill. That occurs in the initial process, and then the bill is sent to committee.
Brian, you got to tell them.
And that's where you have a vote in the process of the committee. And then if the committee votes it out, they send it back to the Senate floor. That would be...
Brian?
I'm sorry.
We do have a state senator here, if you wouldn't mind sharing your thoughts, Senator Taylor.
Thank you. The bill. Sure.
Senator Taylor, great Taylor, he's my senator, like Jamie, he's senator as well.
Thank thank you, board members, for giving me the time to speak. And I only speak on the process and where the legislation is at. First, let me start with the legislation. What the legislation does is it allows the mayor first to declare that there's an option for the township fire departments and EMS in Pike Township, Wayne Township, Decatur Township to merge with IFP. Then the next step from there would be the city council to vote to approve the consolidation. And then the step after, the third step in that legislation is for the mayor to confirm the initial step. That's what the bill says. So what it does, in essence, is it takes the trustee boards out of the process. It does not, the bill does not consolidate. I keep hearing people say that, and I want to make it clear. The legislation does not consolidate like we had seen before. I've been in the General Assembly for 16 years. The prior pieces of legislation actually forced consolidation upon the townships. This does not force consolidation upon the township. It sets up a different process, but it would go to the mayor, to the council, and back to the mayor. In regards to the position of the legislature, the bill was set on the calendar for last Wednesday. The author of the bill decided to pull the legislation from the calendar, and then I think today he decided that he would hear the bill. The bill is going to be heard in the Pensions and Labor Committee. The author is, I believe, on that committee. I can't remember if he's on that committee, but it will be heard. I have not heard whether or not they will vote. There are times when bills are heard and not voted on. They wait till the next hearing to vote. But I will tell you this, giving you a little historical perspective on this legislation. Well, first let me talk about, this is a short session. So starting at, next week will be 2 weeks in session. We only get 4 before the bills pass from the House to the Senate and the Senate to the House. And then we will have 2 weeks after that. We will be out by the first week of March. So there's not a lot of time. But to give you the historical perspective on this piece of legislation, the Senate has been able to stop this legislation in the past. What happened several years ago is it passed out of the House, and then the Senate stopped it. I don't know what's going to happen in the Senate this year. I cannot tell you. Everybody's hush-hush about it. But I can tell you, just to give you perspective, if it gets out of the Senate, it is more likely than not going to pass the House. Okay? They have 70 members who have nothing, more than 70 members who have nothing to do with Marion County, but that's what my prediction is. So I just want to give everybody, not only my constituents, but everybody on the board here, a true understanding of what is going on at the Indiana General Assembly. I'm here to listen to my constituents about what they want to see you guys do, but if you have any questions about the process of the legislature, I'm here to answer.
So if several people went down there, would it help?
It always helps to advocate your position. So I encourage you to be cognizant of the fact that if you do come down there to advocate or on behalf or against the legislation, be succinct, make sure you have people, that are going to talk about the needs of the community. And the only fortunate part is you're not talking to anybody that you can vote for. Ramona. It's just that simple. These people, I can tell you, my 3 Democrat members don't represent Marion County.
Okay, what if we do have a senator that does represent us and he's against it?
Well, you talk to
I mean,
one.
but what I don't understand.
I'll be honest with you. I think I like what the 2 board members said. I need more information, folks. I'm gonna be honest with you. This is a tough decision for this township, unlike the other 2. The other 2 townships, I don't know what their objective, what they're doing as far as doing the voluntary piece, but I can tell you, from my perspective, if it's going to happen down the road, my mentor, Bill Crawford, used to always say, you want to be at the table so that you're not on the menu.
Right.
If we pass this legislation and you're not at the table, then you're on the menu. I'm just telling you that. And so that's my concern, because I represent most of the people that are here. I don't represent all of Wayne Township, by the way, so some of you can vote for me, but some of you can't.
I can vote for you.
Okay, thank you, Dorothy. But the point I'm trying to make is, you got myself, Senator Ford, Senator Cadora, Senator Young. I think that's it. I think that's the 4 of us are the only 4 senators that represent these 3 portions or of the 3 townships that we're talking about. So I'm just, again, I'm here to provide you with information, but I would expect there will be more information to come. And then I have to make a final decision on whether or not I vote yes or no. But I haven't been for it in the past. There's some rumor out there that there's going to be some pressure to support this because of the effect on the school district, but I don't know that much about it.
Thank you.
So good meeting, by the way.
Thank you, Senator. I'm sorry, y'all. I just can't vote.
Any other questions from our board?
Why did we not have more time to understand?
You got time now.
We could.
I mean, but like 2 or 3 months back of last year, so we could have been prepared for this.
No, good grief.
Well, you can't do nothing about the past.
I didn't know that there'd be a bill in the Senate.
You don't know?
And I have spent 18 months trying to fix things.
Yeah.
We have worked to try and
Yes.
bring spending under control. And I still, in the back of my mind, I'm still holding out hope that we can fix this. But I have to be realistic about taking care of our EMS employees and the other civilians. Because there are civilians within garage, fleet management, logistics, our administrative staff at the fire department, IT, who are currently, under the law as it's written now for consolidation, they're covered as employees. But the fact that that bill deletes the word employee is what worries me most.
Well, so it sounds like I agree with our board members here. I have 2 concerns here. The one concern is that we're still gathering information. There's a lot of questions to be answered. The other side is this legislation that's moving through. My concern with that is that if it's taken out, the decision is taken out of our hands, then we're leaving our EMS, and we're not talking about our firemen yet, but we leave them vulnerable to how it will happen. And that's, I want to say that publicly, those are my 2 concerns. And so I'm in favor of tabling this.
You need to take a vote.
to a later meeting. But I also want to be thoughtful about what will happen if we delay too long and we put our people in a situation where we can't advocate for them properly. And so
I say if we are within that wiggle room, like Mr. Trustee has said, I don't want to go outside of that wiggle room.
Sure. So do we have a date that we will, do I have a motion to table this resolution to another date?
So moved. To what's the date?
Please include both one and two in your.
So do I have a resolution to
a motion
to table resolution 2024-1 as well as resolution 2024-2 to a later date?
So moved. Second.
It's been properly moved in second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?
Can you set the date now?
Yes.
What did you say, the 18th, Charlotte?
I don't know.
The 18th,
I don't know
can't
how
do
much.
it on the 8th. Oh my.
I don't know how much time anybody else needs. And I'm not saying this to say that I don't trust my trustee, because this one I do trust him. I'm sorry. But those of you who don't, who are looking at me crazy, I do trust him. But there are some other people that I would like to talk to that's I think could give me some information that I need, that I will be able to feel more comfortable in my vote. So I'm fine with just having a week out, but if you need more than a week out,
I can definitely not do it on the 18th.
We don't have to always do a Thursday, do we? Doris, Ramona, and Woody, what's good for you guys? What day?
We're talking evening.
Yes, definitely.
What's the following week after 18?
25th.
That following week works for me whenever you want to do it.
It don't have to be on a Thursday. What's good for you, Woody?
Any day. I was just looking. I'm good.
Ramona,
I'm good
do you
any
have
day.
any problems on the week of the 21st, the 22nd? What day would be good for you?
Any day.
Okay, Brian, set the date.
January 25th, we will we'll revisit this and make a decision.
The date has to be posted.
48 hours.
Right.
All right.
Thank you, Brian.
So January 25th?
Yeah.
Right.
Okay.
So 6 o'clock, January 25th. All right. Last on our agenda, well, not necessarily last. Now we have an introduction only to resolution 24-3. And that's concerning Wayne Township Fire Department, Indianapolis Fire Department consolidation.
Mr. Chairman, we just placed that on the table for 30 days. By law, it has to be introduced, and then we have to come back no sooner than 30 days afterwards. It's like our budget, where we have a public hearing and public testimony, just like we did tonight.
Okay. Got you. Okay. And so we want to set a date for that that hearing. And February 22nd is what we're looking at.
And that's your regularly scheduled meeting for February.
Okay.
Yep.
And for our audience, at that moment, we will be taking public testimony. All right. Any other comments before I move to the next?
Well, I'd just like to thank everybody for coming tonight, and most importantly, sharing your concerns with us tonight. Just know that we have listened, we do hear you, and we are taking it into consideration. Thank you for coming tonight.
Our next meeting is scheduled for February 22nd.
January 25th.
Oh, well, January 25th. We'll revisit those resolutions, and then we'll meet again February 22nd.
Now, is the public also for the 25th of January?
Sure. I don't care. Sure.
Public meeting.
Okay. So they had to what's the
Same process that we did today. You would need to, each person would need to either email the office or sign up prior to the meeting. Can't be the day of, but same parameters as well. So do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second.
It's been properly moved and second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed?